All Nation, we're back again with the Big Vol'n podcast. Subscribe on YouTube or anywhere else you listen to your podcast, the Field of 68 Network, Big Vol'n podcast. And today we have an incredible, exciting guest. We've never had a current player on the UT roster, but today that changes. That's Josiah-Jordan James, one of the stars in the victory in the big-time road win at Rupp Arena. Will be joining us in just 2 or 3 minutes, so make sure you hang with us. But first, we've got Dagan Hughes, our producer, who's going to shoot the breeze with me a little bit. And what better to do than just relive Tennessee's win against Kentucky? Dagan, what's up, man?
Yeah, how are you doing? First time on the podcast. Stepping in, asking a couple questions.
You listen to all the stuff, though. You get to be the fact
I
that
do.
You record, you chop it up, you produce it, all these other things. You're the man.
So yeah, just kind of obviously last win, 11-point win over Kentucky, and obviously Kentucky team a little bit struggling kind of this season. But obviously Tennessee has played, what people have thought has been some of the best basketball at times in the country. So obviously just, first thing, your general takeaway from that win on Saturday.
I thought it went as well as it could have gone if you're a Tennessee fan or player or coach. You're at Rupp. You have a rival, and forget if they're good this year or bad this year, but you hit some adversity. You get behind at halftime. So now all of a sudden you're in a position where, all right, the team's been struggling a little bit lately anyway. Who's going to step up in the locker room? How can they create a rallying type point? And then you end up having the freshmen have their breakout game where they have now solidified themselves as the best options on the offensive end, especially in transition. Now, half court, I still think they're the best options on the perimeter. But that game was so up and down with some turnovers here and there, and getting in the open court, I thought really benefited them. However, Eve Pons, John Fulkerson, you can't forget about those guys because they're going to be relied upon in the half court. But I've said this all season long. When you take away Tennessee's motion offense and you deny some wings and force them to be one-on-one players, they have not been as good offensively. And some of that's self-inflicted when they don't run as fast and all those other things. But when they're assisting on 70% of their makes, that's when they're at their best. So they've got to throw a counterpunch at that. And these two freshmen, in my opinion, have always been the best option for them. Now, you got to bring them along slowly and all those other things, but they've got the highest ceiling. And so I thought this was just a perfect scenario because you've got the come from behind, you had the breakout performance by the freshman, and then we'll ask Josiah-Jordan James, who was kind of the unsung hero, despite having a double-double, but still kind of outshined a little bit, but not in Rick Barnes' eyes, as he said, look, that guy locked up Keon Brooks in the second half. Nobody could stop him, and I'm anxious to hear what Josiah says about how that challenge was proposed to him by Coach Barnes.
Yeah, and you mentioned the freshman, kind of a performance for the two of them that it was much more than impressive. I mean, 50 combined points for the two of them. I mean, what is your takeaway, and what have you seen from them throughout this year that, stands out to you?
I think most coaches deal with really talented freshmen, if they're lucky enough to get them, really talented freshmen that can score the ball but don't know how to play the right way, high IQ, or maybe their motor's not there all the way. Or maybe they don't know how to play defense and they're a liability on defense. So you're better with them on the offensive end, but you're worse defensively. That's not the case with these guys. I mean, they play hard on the defensive end, and they've been doing that since they stepped foot on campus. And every game I've seen them in, that's what jumped out to me more than anything was not some of their great athleticism that they showed in the non-conference. It was, wow, these guys come in the game off the bench looking to make an impact on the game, not on offense, on the whole game, defense, offense, transition, block shots. And so I think that earns you the respect of your teammates as well, to where, look, I don't think it's one of those of you got to work. I mean, look, this is a really unselfish team to begin with. So, and knowing that, it makes this point not necessarily a hot take by any means, but I don't see any jealousy issues coming out of these freshmen having combined 50 points. I think it's, I'm happy for you. We all knew you had it in you. And this is one of those games where it's the turning point.
Yeah, and that'll definitely help any team as you look down this final stretch of the season. And kind of going about that, I mean, Tennessee's next game now against Georgia. We're supposed to be against Florida, obviously, with everything going on in the world. Now Georgia, how do they kind of transition from this win into now taking on the Bulldogs next?
Yeah, making sure you take them seriously, because Georgia struggled at times. But Katie Johnson's a guy that's eligible for them now that wasn't early in the year, and Severe Wheeler. I mean, is their point guard. He's lightning quick, maybe the fastest player in the Southeastern Conference, goes up and down. And Tom Crane, I think you could argue he has his most confident ball club right now that he's had since he's been at Georgia. Even last year with the number 1 pick, Anthony Edwards, they never got in a rhythm. There wasn't a lot of confidence. But they've gotten older with some transfers like P.J. Horn, and they've gotten better. They've gotten guys eligible, and I think their balance of shooting threes, too many threes, have been fixed. I mean, they're more efficient from the 3-point line because I believe they've been taking less. I don't know the exact stat, but I thought they relied too much on the 3-point shot when they really didn't have that good of shooters. But which I'm going to go back to my one other point to Tennessee, made me think of it. I love the fact that Tennessee did not have too many assists in that game. Now, some would look at that and say, oh, it's a bad thing. They got to share the ball. No. We already talked about how good they are when they share the ball. Now they've shown they have one-on-one break-you-down guys. And now if you bring some help, they're more than capable of dishing off. And now you're even in worse trouble because they're running their offense and they're swinging it side to side and all those things. So anxious to see what Georgia has planned for them this upcoming game.
And, well, that'll do it for me. I'll get off the screen, and we'll move on into our interview with our guest today. Thank you, Dane, as always. And
you got it. Thanks, Dagan. As much as I appreciate you, you are not what the people have tuned in to listen to, and neither am I. But we are going to be joined by the unsung hero, but not in Rick Barnes' eyes, Mr. Double-Double, Josiah-Jordan James of the University of Tennessee Volunteers. All Nation, we are back again with the Big Vol'n podcast. This time a huge, incredible special guest, a current player. First time we've had that on here. Big Vol'n podcast. Make sure you subscribe on the Field of 68 network. Josiah-Jordan James. Josiah, what do you prefer, man? Do you like J3, Joe, Josiah? What do you like?
I really go with the flow. My coaches call me Joe, J, Triple J. My mom always prefers that you say all 3 names, Josiah-Jordan James, but Josiah is just fine with me.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I call one of your games, I will make sure I'll do what Mama wants, and I will get all 3 names in there. But I was expecting you to say my friends call me Joe, but you can call me Josiah. So I feel good. Let's stay within the flow. Coming off one of your best games of your career, obviously a memorable one. Huge win at Kentucky, 10 points, 10 rebounds. More importantly, your defense on Brooks. Talk through that with us with Coach Barnes. I mean, that was the first thing he really brought up in the press conference. Yeah, the freshmen combined for 50, but it was about your defense in the second half. Was that sort of a, hey, who's going to stop this guy? You raise your hand, or did he look at you and say, Joe, we need you?
No, he just came to the huddle. I was on the bench under the under-12 timeout. He's just like, we need somebody to stop Brooks. And I told him that I had just subbed in. I told him I would guard him. I'd take on the challenge. And I ended up doing that. But it was really just a team effort. It wasn't just me one-on-one defensive. It was really 5 guarding 1. And so I have to give credit to everybody who was out there on the floor on the defensive end. It wasn't just me. It was a team effort.
Well, that's humble of you. But 5 guarding 1 worked better when you were the one on Brooks. So, yeah, you did your part too. I've been telling a few people prior to that Kentucky game that I felt like your Tennessee team, this Tennessee team, kind of needed one of those moments. And you've been a part of it last year, even though y'all were kind of rebuilding last year. But did this Kentucky win? And I know it's not like Kentucky teams of the past and Rupp Arena wasn't packed. But did this particular win, coming from behind on the road against a rival, seem to do a little bit more to the locker room than maybe other wins throughout the season so far?
It definitely did. Anytime you can go into Rupp Arena and win the way that we did, coming from behind, really battling it out for 40 minutes, that's a really good feeling and a really good win. And I feel like the way we played, the way our freshmen played throughout, they really made a name for themselves. And we knew that they were going to have a breaking point all year long, and it just so happened to be right then and there. And so even though Folke didn't play a lot and he didn't play his best, we know what to expect from him going forward. And then with the addition of Jaden and Keon, what they're able to do, it adds more firepower to all of us. And getting a win in Rupp Arena against a really talented Kentucky team meant a lot for us as a team. It really boosted our morale.
Yeah, well, don't let anybody take that away from you. When you leave, Tennessee and Kentucky fans try to say that win didn't count, because I've had that happen. We won in Rupp, and they said, oh, yeah, but that's when Tubby Smith didn't have the best team. Like, forget it. That's the most memorable win I had. So you mentioned the freshmen, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring them up. from the optics, we don't get the benefit of as a commentator being inside the locker room or at shoot-arounds like we're accustomed to. But even just as a fan watching the game, it seems like they've been aggressive this year, but without coming in trying to be like, hey, this is our team, get out of the way. Can you describe sort of the mindset they have in terms of them being able to go out and sort of take over the game offensively, yet not feeling like they're overstepping with you or some of the other veterans in that role?
Yeah, really from the day that they got on campus, they've really just been bought into what this team needs and their role on this team. And the way that they've handled everything is a lot better than I did as a freshman last year. And the way that they're playing right now is just a byproduct of the work they put in. I wish everybody could come in and see like how hard the two guys, not only the whole team, but those two guys specifically work on their game. And so when I see them scoring 20-some points a game, it's no surprise to us and everybody who's around this team, because it's just a byproduct of the work that they put in. And they're really just honing in on their craft, and they're really just scratching the surface as how good as they can be. And it's really exciting to see for us as a team and for them as individuals, because they're going to have a long career playing basketball, and they're really just getting started. And as a fan of those two guys, as a teammate, is really incredible to see.
Well, and they both bought in defensively. That's what I've noticed is they come to the game, they're not a liability on defense. So with that in mind, we'll have a little fun for a second. When you guys do some one-on-one closeout drills, who do you want to go up against? Would you rather have Jaden Springer closing out on you or Keon Johnson? What's the higher success rate for you on offense against those guys?
That's a toss-up. They're really both two really good defenders, but you can ask them. Neither of them can guard me, so you can really throw.
Hey, that's a better answer. I like that. Yeah, either one.
Whichever one you think will have a better shot, that's the one you get to pick.
Yeah. Well, with that in mind, though, and I love that because that'll be a segue into you're a pass-first type player naturally, and that's what you've been throughout your career. And last year, Coach Barnes had to kind of get you to look for your shot a little bit more. And now where you're seeing how well you're shooting the ball this year, you're in the catch and shoot position. I know you've worked on your shot some, but what's that transition been like for you where you're naturally thinking, all right, how can I get my teammates involved into, hey, I'm squaring up as soon as I get this ball, I'm thinking shot.
Yes, sir. It was tough for me at first because I'd been playing basketball my whole life, trying to be a facilitator, get my teammates involved. And then last year, coming in and having to be in attack mode, it was different for me. It was a different mindset and a different mode. And it took me a while to get used to. And I'd say it's still taking me a while to get used to. But just knowing, I had a conversation with him and the coaches about how I'm doing a disservice to my teammates because I know that I'm talented and I put the work in and I can score the ball, but just changing my mindset. And when I looked at it from the aspect of me hurting the team instead of helping the team when I don't shoot the ball, that's what kind of really put it in perspective for me. And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help this team. And right now it has to be taking open shots and looking for my shot on offense and being aggressive. And so that's just what I'm bought into right now. And I think that as time goes on, I'll be able to be more consistent with it and help this team out in the long run.
What are some of the pressures maybe fans don't realize about being such a heralded recruit like yourself and being a five-star kid? I mean, yeah, you can say I don't pay attention to that, but there's still unfair expectations. And you mentioned Keon Johnson, Jaden Springer, how well they did come in, but they also had you as a sophomore, Fulkerson as a veteran, Pons even more experienced, Vescovi, as opposed to the situation you and Santiago came into last year. So, they've had been able to come along and have a little bit more of a growth period where the expectations were high, but they could defer some and coach could bring them along slower as opposed to you. And it's like, oh yeah, that's the five-star kid. I've never seen him play, but I'm guessing he's going to be one and done and be the greatest player we've ever seen.
Yeah, there definitely are some unfair expectations that come along with it. And I wish I could say that it didn't get to me or it didn't affect me. But yeah, the expectations of the ranking of a five-star or guys who are supposed to be one and done. I just tried my best not to pay attention to it, but I went through a period last year where I was really struggling. I'm supposed to be this great player, and I wasn't really performing well. And that's when I really got close to my teammates because they knew what I was capable of. The coaching staff knew what I was capable of. And I just tried to try to block out the outside noise and not really worry about things that I can control, because everybody has their own opinion. Everybody wants to be able to do this, do that. But just listening to the people who care about you most and who are around you most and have your best interest, that's really what I tried to focus on. And with Jaden and Keon, they had some of the same expectations as me. And I told them from day one, like, don't worry about anything on the outside. Just worry about getting better each and every day and control what you can control. And that was really my message to them. And I think I know for a fact they're handling it a lot better than I did last year. But I just wanted to be a mentor to those guys, being kind of in their same situation last year where I was a highly heralded recruit. But like me being more mature than I am last year, I just focus on things I can control. And I can't control what people say about me, but I can control the work that I put in and what I do day in and day out.
Well, speaking of control what you can control, you, myself, or any of your other teammates, we can control whether or not we check Twitter. Tell the truth. Do you check social media after a game?
I don't check it. I go on it, and so Twitter is really the one that I try to stay away from. Like after a couple of days after a game, I'll get on it because I have a Twitter, but I don't try to follow anything related to Tennessee basketball. But I'll go on Instagram. I'll have some comments. But I don't go specifically to check. No, I stayed away from that. And Coach English made it a point to me last year. He was like, "Why would you let somebody's opinion affect your mood?" Like, or it's just it, and he put it in perspective to me. Like, if you have a good game, why would you care about what anybody says about you? If you have a bad game, why would you let what somebody says who doesn't even know you affect your mood or affect you as a person and an individual? And so that talk with him last year really helped me out and put in perspective. So I do go on social. It's not like I'm in a social media hiatus.
What's the meanest thing somebody's ever said to you? You know, the new athletic director White, you know, everybody, he came out and said, "Hey, we need to be a little bit nicer on social media." Exactly, but there's some truth to it. Like
there definitely is. I would say the meanest thing. I probably couldn't say it on here. Just I'm garbage, or
yeah.
So in high school, I was the worst 5-star recruit anybody's ever seen. Just things like that. People who have too much time on their hand.
Well, the folks that have listened to this podcast know I'm not afraid to admit. So Facebook had just come out when I was playing, and the Facebook group Dane Bradshaw blows got started, and the numbers were climbing every single game that I played poorly. So you're not alone, man. People are ruthless, but hopefully we were able to get the last laugh, and you're certainly laughing now as well to any of those critics. Speaking of laughs and sense of humor, Rick Barnes. I mean, so serious on the court, off the court, completely different. Known for his pranks. Has he ever pranked Josiah-Jordan James?
Oh, all the time. The best one is, so I know you've been in prep before, but there's an area where the coaches during the quarantine where we were just working out, they were sitting up top. And so I sat literally directly below him, probably like 20, how high is it? 20, 25 feet. And so he's hanging over the railing, and him and Coach English is talking to me. He's in front of me. And so I'm on the floor, and he's up 25 feet above me, hanging over the railing. And I hear Coach Barnes just sneeze, and he had some water that he dumped down while he sneezed. So I thought there was snot on his neck, and he got me good. That was the best one he ever got me with. I was fooled. And I went to the bathroom, and I was like, there's no way he just sneezed. And then they told me afterwards, but that was definitely the best one. But he's constantly pranking me, everybody else, the coaching staff. And that's just him. He'll always be like that.
You know, that's hilarious. And I'll make it go back from somewhat present day to the recruiting process. We'll go in reverse order. But you were recruited by almost every school in the country. Tennessee, yes, good basketball brand. But there's some blue bloods out there that have longer tradition and everything else. Well, why Tennessee, and how much was Rick Barnes a part of that?
He was a big part. They were my first Power 5 offer. He came to one of my tournaments when I was in 8th grade going into 9th grade, and they offered me after the first time they saw me. And so I had a long relationship way before with him and Coach Schwartz and the rest of the coaching staff way before I committed. And the thing that went furthest with me is just the honesty they gave me. They were they didn't sugarcoat anything. They coached me since I was in high school. Really, they told me how I was going to be. They told me what to expect, and they told me what they liked about my game, and also areas that they wanted to help me in, and that they could help me in. And so that invited me to come on a visit. And then once I came on my official visit, that really just sealed the deal. Being around the team, the atmosphere, coming to the games, and just seeing everything, and just being a part of the culture here. That those two things combined really helped make the decision pretty easy for me.
Well, you guys have a great culture and extremely unselfish, and you guys stay so composed on the court. I joke all the time when I'm watching the game or when I'm calling one of y'all's games. You know, Eve Pons, if he has the greatest dunk in the world, no emotion. If he has a block, no emotion. Like, if that's me, I'm beating my chest and screaming and possibly getting a tech. I've seen you let some emotion out. I mean, do you guys get some personality out of him inside the locker room, or is he kind of that same guy that it's hard to get him to crack a smile?
He is the jokester, and if you're around anybody around this team will tell you that he's filled with emotion. But it's crazy that you say that, because I noticed it too. He plays with, I wouldn't say not no emotion, but just locked in. He's so locked in on the task at hand and just wanting to win the game. But he's like the complete opposite outside of that. He's always laughing and joking, and
then I could be wrong, because I said the worst job in America would be to have to throw Eve Pons a surprise party, because it would be a bust. You'd get no reaction. But maybe he's capable.
It'd be easy. It'd be nice and easy.
Yeah. All right. Let me. I'm going to give you a rapid fire real quick as we get to know your teammates a little bit better. I'll just give you a few descriptions here, and you name them. Okay. Funniest teammate on the roster.
Devontae Gaines.
Worst roommate on the road.
Brock.
All right. Who's the best gamer?
Drew Pember.
Best dancer?
Ooh. VJ.
Ladies' man?
VJ.
All right. Most likely to become a coach?
Olivier.
Who's taking the last shot if you're drawing it up in the huddle?
Do we need a 2 or a 3?
Oh, good question. All right, we'll break it down. Open 3.
Me.
Contested tough 2 at the rim.
Jaden or Keon. I can't decide.
All right, I'll let that be. Free throw line. Clutch free throws.
Bronte.
Got it. All right, you covered just about every single one of your teammates there. That's great, man. Thanks again for all your time, and I can attest to this for all the Vol fans out there that wonder if Josiah-Jordan James is as good of a guy off the court as he is on the court and how he represents. I can tell you, yes. When back when things were normal before COVID, I could come into Pratt Pavilion with my kids, and you're the first to come over there, shake hands. Hey, how you doing? You introduce yourself to my parents, my in-laws, make my kids feel great and welcome. So I can't thank you enough for that. And you're the exact type of person that I know Vol Nation wants in their program. And we wish you nothing but the best, man. Thanks for taking some time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Tell the family I said hello.
All right, will do. Thanks a lot.